All right, good evening, everyone, and peace and blessings, and welcome back to the STEM Files, where we serve as the voice of STEM talent and Black culture, where we highlight the best and the brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Tonight's episode, we have part two, a return guest. This is the Ine Saka. She's an integrated psychiatric nurse practitioner, and she's going to be joining us to share her expertise on the ins and outs of starting your own healthcare-based business. This is hosted by Tariq, cardiac brain engineer, and she mechanic. Stay tuned, family, for more after this.
You believe in these false prophets, I say I bet he lying. No football, New York City Giants. Girl dad, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. When we teaching our babies, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. Heavy science. When we teaching our women, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. Heavy science. When we teach men, we teach them.
Hi, it's Ine Saka, integrated psychiatric nurse practitioner, coming to you on the STEM Files for a part two, where we will be discussing the ins and outs of starting your own healthcare-based business. Stay tuned.
All right, family, once again, thank you all for tuning in. This is the STEM Files, the voice of STEM talent and Black culture, where we highlight the best and the brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in the Black and Brown community. My name is Tariq Muhammad, aka Tariq Cardiac. I'm a biomedical research scientist with a concentration and background in cardiovascular pathobiology, which is the study of how diseases form in the heart and blood vessels, as well as how the treatments for these various diseases are developed in a laboratory setting and in a clinical setting. I'm joined by part of the STEM Files hosting team, Sister Dr. Joy, the Chi mechanic. How you doing, sis?
I'm well, by His grace. Assalamu alaikum, family. As he said, I am Sister Dr. Joy 2X. I'm the Chi mechanic. I've been studying and practicing traditional Chinese medicine for 13 years. And in TCM, we understand that the body innately knows how to heal itself. It desires to heal itself. The medicine also that I offer is here to assist you in that journey, like a mechanic for your vital energy. So peace.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. And as you can see on the screen, family, we have somebody who's missing from the team. Yeah. Our faithful co-host, Jabril Muhammad, aka Brain Engineer. He is a civilian mechanical engineer and in-service engineering agent with a focus on naval ship fluid systems. He has a background in material science and engineering, the study of various properties of materials classes and how these materials can be used in various applications, making things faster, stronger, more effective, and more efficient. I hope I did my brother justice on introducing him. He's definitely here with us in spirit. Of course, he has some things to take care of, and we're looking forward to having him back on next week's episode. So without any further ado, we like to, of course, introduce ourselves. We want you to know who we are, but it's not about us. It's about our guest. And this guest is a return guest from 2 weeks ago. We had a very phenomenal build on psychiatry in the psychiatry in the Black mind, and understanding how important it is for Black people to understand psychiatry and mental health. But this time, part two is going to be a little different. We're going to be coming at it from a business perspective, right? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that we have to take control of our own healthcare. And one of the ways we do that is by getting involved in business that dictates our healthcare. So I want to, first and foremost, welcome our esteemed guest, the Ine Saka, back to the platform. How you doing, Queen?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And first of all, thank you for coming to do part two again. Last week, we were, most of the believers and most of us were in Chicago to participate in the International Training Conference. Yeah. So July 25th episode was dedicated to getting some much needed PR and content while Jabril and Dr. Joy were up there in Chicago. But now we're back with live episodes, and we wanted to just build on healthcare in the business setting. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let my sister, the Chi mechanic, go ahead and start it off for us.
Crazy too. Well, sis, thanks again for coming back. And I'm really interested in this topic because I think it's multi-layered, right? We're talking about psychiatry in the Black business. So first and foremost, not only what that means for Black people in terms of understanding, learning, and utilizing psychiatric care, but also the mind strength behind building a Black business that surrounds this kind of mental health care. So can you kind of go into what inspired you to enter this field, to actually build a business, and what does that mean when we are building a business around healthcare. We really want to shift that paradigm. So what does that mean for you as a psychiatrist and as a Black business owner?
Well, I came into mental health. I think a while back, I established myself as a healer. I went through different trials and tribulations, and I think after a while, when you're able to alchemize certain situations in your own life, and then other people start to see a light within you, and then they start to come and feel comfortable enough to share their trials and tribulations, and you're able to nurture them through those ebbs and flows of life. It made me feel as though I wanted to go deeper. I wanted to go deeper with the science of the mind. I wanted to be able to have a certification that would be acknowledged by the community, as a person that is, well studied and credentialed, because we live in a society now that credentials matter, especially when it comes to creating a livelihood here in the United States. So that's pretty much what I guess potentiated me going into the mental health component. I was already in primary care for a while, but providing so many mental health services within primary care, because primary care is pretty much everything. It's the mind, it's the body, it's everything. So a lot of my patients, they're coming in for physicals, and then they have this depression, they have this anxiety, and we end up talking about it. And by the time the end of their encounter is over, they feel better, and I feel rewarded because I was able to make someone feel better. And I said, I may be on to something. I better go and get a credential to actually offer this as a service. And so I went back and recertified as a psychiatric nurse practitioner.
And that's, oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Joy, you wanted to follow
up? No, go ahead. I was unmuting myself.
Got you. And that, what you said just now, being able to, the fact that you noticed that feedback coming in. Hold on, let me try something. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I think somebody has to mute their background when the other person's talking. It's all good. But so when you said that you had to offer, you wanted to make sure that you were qualified to offer what you noticed about yourself, right? You noticed that you were able to help people with your expertise and your knowledge, but you weren't qualified to do it. Talk about being able to be qualified, because that's a very touchy subject. A lot of us, and I'm not saying us, but a lot of people, when they get a little bit of knowledge, they run with that and act like, okay, that's it. That's all I need. I'm gonna obtain this knowledge, give it to you, and act like, okay, that's it. And that you're supposed to take this knowledge because I know it, and I know it more than you, and I gave it to you. So talk about, being qualified to give somebody information, not just because you have the information.
Well, I'm going to say more so living in the States. I was looking at credentialing and certifications more so because I knew that I needed to create a livelihood. And the insurance companies will not pay you if you're not credentialed or certified. But on the other hand, if you choose not to be certified, you can still be a cash pay service. But the challenge comes, especially within, I'm going to say, populations that are may have a lower economical, resources. They're not able to pay certain amounts of money to, come in and get specific services. And so when people may appreciate the service that you're offering, but if you're not able to offer your service for free, then you're not going to get the customers, and ultimately you're not even able to share your gift, your talent with the community because no one can afford it. So that affordability was one of my biggest things, and it still is. I wanted to make sure that everybody was able to have access to my light. However, I still wanted to be sure that I was able to put food on the table. Now, I wasn't looking to cash out, but I was looking to be able to have some kind of sustenance for my family, as well as almost, I guess, very easily, and allow myself to be easily accessible to the community. So we're talking about Medicaid. We're talking about, some just in general, just offering some of my services are just, free. Just come in. We have scheduled sound baths, things of that nature that are free to the community. So it's not necessarily about you being reputable when it comes to certifications, because there are some people that are certified and you really don't want to be under their care. So, and then there are some people that are so brilliant. I mean, you would want to be under their care. You would, if you are ailing, you would want their healing capabilities. But they don't have a certification. All they have, they are self-studied, and they just know. And I don't feel as though, it takes anything away from a healer or a healthcare professional for not having a certification. I think ultimately it becomes, living in the United States, will you be able to cash in on the economical resources in order to survive if you do not have the certification? I guess I answered that okay.
Yeah, perfect. Dr. Joy? And I'm going to come back to that as well. Some things I want to expound on.
Sorry, is there feedback? I was on mute. Okay, yes, ma'am. I come at it from a very different angle, actually, because I knew that receiving, all the credentials, master's, doctorate, up into the clinical realm, what I really wanted to do was come back into the community. And I, just like you've mentioned, know that we are so disenfranchised across the board. I mean, we have some of the greatest health deprivations across the board. And so what is there for us by us? And so, instead of banking on any kind of health insurance or care provision in that way, I believe I was blessed by a lot to kind of have that foreshadowing and foresight of, at any moment, these things could get pulled, these resources could get pulled, especially from our community, because most of all they have been, or co-opted in a sense. And so I believed that it was really my duty and due diligence to look into alternatives. They dub acupuncture or Chinese medicine or anything, Reiki, massage, you name it, herbs, that alternative, when in reality, Western medicine is 150 years old at best. And, there are all these other alternative medicines that have been around for millennia. And so, the powers that be that are giving credence to, these modalities, who are we really listening to? And by coming into the Nation of Islam, especially with this week's Final Call article, the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he wrote in Why We Must Produce Food and Control Our Own Food Sources. He really stated here too that the scripture says that my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. We eat unhealthy food because we don't know what we're eating and the effect of what we're eating on the systems of our body, in particular our brain. So the only way to change that is to introduce new knowledge, correct knowledge. And when you have the correct knowledge, then you correct your behavior according to that knowledge. And he goes on. And so I really do, admire different types of business models. But for intent and purpose of how and why I run my business in a particular way is because I trust my community. I trust the people to support and understand and know that true knowledge is power. We have been so disenfranchised even and almost distrusted of how to take care of ourselves, which is mind-boggling to me. So to empower people, to give that back to the people while I'm also learning in tandem is a great gift, an honor, a responsibility, and a reward all at the same time, because it's a symbiotic relationship. I call it co-creative healing. So I have learned this knowledge, brought this knowledge, and now we're co-creating an infrastructure in order to keep our dollar within the community, to service our people, and to also have it be learning. It's not a learning curve. We're not dumb people, like this is something that is empowering. I remember the first time a Chinese medical practitioner told me to eat with the seasons, and my mind was blown wide open, and that's like such a simple thing. It's something that, seems very relatively understandable, but because somebody said this to me, that was also, she was a person of color, but someone within the family, within the Black family, it was a light bulb to me of like, wow, no one's ever really, said this. Like, we know that the food pyramid is inverted. You know what I mean? Like, that's how technology works. And so, I really appreciate this conversation. Just another little piece, if I could, I wanted to share something that I brought back from the National Training Conference, which was absolutely amazing. Shout out to everybody who was there, all the organizers. It was absolutely amazing. But Brother Nuri Muhammad opened up like a fiery lion the whole entire conference, and he stated that every animal has an instinctive and intrinsic knowing of when to move to safety, except for cats and dogs because they're domesticated and they can't hunt or, even really care for themselves. But in nature, in true nature, we have what is called like an infrasonic sound pulse, and that clues us into our natural environment. And so when we operate within nature, which is exactly what Chinese medicine models do, and we do have even models of psychiatry in Chinese medicine. When we operate within nature, we have superpowers. And so I just wanted to impart that piece of knowledge that I learned from the training conference.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Heavy on the superpowers, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And one of the things that I always teach is when you eat the foods from nature as opposed to the processed foods, they activate your knowing, making you more clear about your higher calling, your purpose, things of that nature, as opposed to eating so many processed foods. They create a blockage from that knowing. And so you have a lot of people, that just, are out here. I don't know my purpose. I don't know, what I'm supposed to be doing. And one of my first things I say to do is to clean the colon and eat from the earth. It'll come to you. But I totally agree. I feel like all human beings have a knowing. And I studied with Queen Afua a while ago, and she in Gateway 12 of her Sacred Woman book, she calls it the Mesh Connect. And your Mesh Connect in ancient Kemetic teachings, it is pretty much the trade, a spiritual trade, a trade that has only been assigned to you. And you won't know what it is. You can't get to it without the proper fasting, without the proper diet, and without the proper cleansing of the body. But I agree. I totally agree with what you said. The brother in Chicago, was teaching about every species having an innate knowing. There's an innate knowing that all human beings have deep down inside of what their mesh connect is. And this mesh connect is what can bring you money. It can bring you a livelihood. It's a gift and a talent that only you behold, and it has the capability of bringing you a livelihood if you tap into your inner self deep enough.
Absolutely. And we actually have a question from Jabril. So I'm going to be asking questions. I'm going to be dropping questions from Jabril the whole chat because he's a co-host, so he might as well not even wait to the end of the show for this. But he says, speaking on to the importance of language and perspective, why is it important to rewire our thinking to see Western medicine as an alternative as opposed to Eastern, more naturopathic medicines?
That's a good question. And I think that right now we are coming back to understanding that our ancient medicine is the original medicine, but it's been a long time coming. And I think that came with all the trauma, of the African diaspora here on, in this country. They pretty much robbed us. They made us feel shame. They made us feel shame of everything that, that we once practiced. So much shame that, our great grandmothers, would, kind of shun you for looking a certain way. You got to do your hair this way. You got to walk this way. And, we're not going to, we're going to go to this place for worship. We're not doing that stuff anymore. They made us feel shame about the ways of our ancestors. And so now, we became so disconnected, and we see what has happened. We see all of the physical casualties that are happening to human beings, and people are tired. People are tired of pharma, and now, they're realizing that, some of the medications, there's some good, but most of the good comes from the holistic way of living. And so that's why it's important, because it's affordable. Eating from the earth is affordable. If you can find a good herb source, getting the herbs is affordable. Eating, creating a garden. These are all affordable natural medicines. And so that's why it's important. It's important for us to tap into our ancient medicines, because our ancient medicines are things that have been given to us in abundance, and they're all around us. As opposed to things that, sometimes, someone may tell you, if you can't afford this medicine, we're not going to be able to heal you. So we have to be able to know that you are not the tell-all end-all. There are other options. I know I have other places I can go. I have an auntie that is a medicine woman. She's going to pull out the herbs. She's going to, put out her juicer, and she's going to pray over me. She's going to affirm over me, and I'm going to feel better. We have to know that there are other options besides pharma. Otherwise, we lose hope. And when we lose hope, our motivation to thrive here, it dies, it dwindles. Right. So giving pharma, the power is almost as if you're giving pharma the power almost of God. And that is a scary thing. And so it's important for people to understand that the Most High placed everything that you need here on the soils. And that pharma is just an add-on, but it is not the divine source.
That's right. And just to kind of give people like a bit of a history, before the American Medical Association and all these other varying governing bodies for medicine and traditional medicine, before they took over and made everything so, wrapped up in pharma, a lot of the medicines came from plants, even in traditional medicine. A lot of the scientists and doctors were using plants to source their medicines and their treatments. It wasn't until the U.S. government got a hold of everything with the FDA and the American Medical Association and made everything so toxic, and everything had to be centered around pharmaceuticals, that it became such a dangerous entity to receive your medical treatment from. So we have to understand that history best rewards our research and everything that we do. So we have to not only be, willing to explore other options, but also understand exactly where these evil forces actually came from and what their objectives were.
Yeah. Yes.
Dr. Jordan?
Yes, sir. I was just reading again words from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. All praises due to Allah for our Messiah in our midst. But, he really hones in on this, who had this knowledge, of us, and who separated us and our being, and had just a limited period of time to do so. It was Yaqub who studied the life term, right, of the original man. And so when we're thinking about, how he gave expression to all of his tricks and teachings in a system, it really boils down to, this is why everything from our food, our educational system, our medicine, and things of this nature, this is why we are so part and parcel to why we are so dumb, deaf, and blind. We are given this medicine very blindly. We are told that this is what is going to help us. We know none of the side effects. We know none of the long-term, issues that may be at hand. And then people are really coming from that and looking for natural alternative medicine to be back in sync with their nature, saying, this is for the birds. I can't even really think straight or see straight anymore, And so I really give thanks, just for the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad imparted with Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in order to teach us and raise us up and make us whole and good again. And that is why Brother Jabril's question is so paramount. You know, like why do we need to rewire and see Western medicine as the alternative? And I just think that that's such a brilliant question, brother, because we're talking about separation or death. And that is not some lightweight, lightfoot thing that we're talking about. This is what is imparted to us in the Nation of Islam. All praises due to Allah for the nation, because this is literally life or death. I mean, we're talking about not only psychiatry in a Black business world, but psychiatry in our lives as a whole. How we are not only ingesting things that we are eating, but also how and what we are thinking. And so I really do believe that by having this conversation and remapping, rerouting, really gives us an understanding of how and why we really need to separate from the devil's world. It's full of tricks and lies, and it's made us nothing but sick and sicker.
And to piggyback off of what you said, off of his Brother Jabril's question, looking at holistic living as the primary, healing mechanism would require human beings to look at their whole lifestyles differently. And that's not where we are as a society, unfortunately. We're so detached from holistic lifestyles that we feed ourselves all of these toxins, and then we're expecting, or we're looking to have holistic approaches to heal what all of these man-made toxins over time have done. And it's not all the time. It doesn't work that way all the time. So a lot of the times, what I used to tell my patients when I was in the primary care field was, sometimes you need the man-made medicine in order to heal or address the man-made diseases. Because a lot, McDonald's, sorry, I'm gonna throw out names of people, but fast food restaurants, all of these, the fast food restaurants, the different kinds of chemicals, the processed foods, all of this stuff, it accumulates. I used to see it all the time in primary care. They have these lifestyles where they're so detached in their eating practices and their exercise, they're so detached. But when things go wrong with the body, they will come to me and say, I want a holistic approach to healing this. And I'm like, whoa, now we can do that, but it would be quicker at this point for us to start off with pharma, because pretty much all of the foods that you've been eating come from the same pharma factories that make the medicines. So they kind of know what they're feeding you to make you sick. So they have the medicines to offset the sicknesses when they come, or to suppress them anyway. They're not healing them. A lot of pharma comes to suppress a lot of the time. It doesn't come to heal. And that's another reason why we should look at it as an alternative medicine, because pharma comes to suppress. Holistic living comes to heal. It's not as instantaneous, and we're in a society that loves instant gratification. So a lot of people, when you tell them, this is going to be a whole lifestyle change that you have to do, and you're going to have to stop eating this, and you're going to have to stop doing that, and they're like, this is the holistic medicine? That then they opt to just, go to pharma. But ultimately, it's a lifestyle. The reason why we've become so detached is because our lifestyles are not in sync with holistic medicine anymore. We live off of foods that are created by pharma.
Yes, ma'am. Respectfully, I disagree, because I have seen so many of exactly what you speak of, where pharma comes to suppress. And the people that I have seen over going on 13 years now, what we're really talking about, and what I really hear the underpinning of you saying, is that we need resources, and we also need right guidance. And the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us that right guidance by God in person, Master Fard Muhammad, with How to Eat to Live. And that is something that is so invaluable with not only what we eat, but when to eat and how to eat them. And so, that's why, especially again, within this Final Call newspaper, why we must produce foods and control our own food sources. That's just paramount, because you are correct in that, big pharma is also now making big pharma max, right? That is what's happening. And holistic living, does come to heal. It has stood the test of time. It is tried and true, but people just are so far removed from that. We have been, they have planned to remove us from our nature, right? And so I feel like that, as a practitioner, is my number one duty, again, is to empower the patient and for them to know, like, hey, yes, you're a polypharm, but there is hope. And you said it yourself, losing hope kills motivation to thrive. So what do we really need to do as practitioners? Number one, it's really, the heart of the practitioner. That's what I learned from an 88th generation Taoist priest. This is the medicine. You can know all the book smarts, you can even, live what you teach, but it's really how you are connecting with patients, and are you permitting what you are promoting and promoting what you are permitting, And I feel like that is at least one way in which we can shift that paradigm. There's also another paradigm within Japanese shiatsu. It's called quantum shiatsu, and I spoke about this with Sister Dr. Christina Parks, as well as another sacred woman studying with Queen Afua, Sister Bria X, who is, we should have her on here too, like all us sisters should be on this episode, because we were talking about really coming from a true place and sense of the healed self. When you're doing a diagnostic in quantum shiatsu, you're actually looking at the most empowered channel of chi, or of energy, and then dissipating that good energy and that good chi throughout the rest of the body. Whereas in Western medicine, that's why it's called sick care medicine, because you're looking at the patient already as a deficient patient. You're looking at the deficiencies, you're looking at the maladies, you're looking at the illnesses. And what does that say to the patient? That's already killing their hope and their motivation, because, okay, here's this diagnosis with the big C, right? You're done for. What does that do to us mentally? Instead of saying, hey, your spleen is still intact. And that's one of the most abundant places that we can, help to bolster in order for your immune system to have a better chance, in order to fight back, and I feel like there's a lot of metaphor with that as well in the time that we're living in right now.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. When I was saying that you have to offset the man-made diseases with the man-made medicines, that's one approach. That's usually an initial approach. If I have a patient coming in with high blood pressure of 200/108, I'm not going to, offer him, at that moment, the herbs and things of that nature, because right now I know. Let me take a step back. I feel as though mankind, the Most High, has allowed us to evolve in knowledge and science. And so I feel like pharma has its place. I feel that, when Allah has blessed you with the knowledge, you should use it. So pharma has its place, it has its time and its place. And in some instances, in some settings, pharma may be the most ideal scenario, the most urgent scenario, and most of the time, the urgent situations, such as the severe hypertensions and things of that nature, are quickly solved with the pharma medications. Once we can get that medication down, that blood pressure down, and get the patient to a stable space, now we can start talking about the inner healing, coming back to the self. But right now, this person is coming to you more than likely with different diets and things of that nature that have been so disconnected from their higher self, that coming back to the self kind of takes a seat, and then we have to deal with the pharma that we have evolved to create, to heal, I guess, to address all of these different man-made atrocities that we have right now. And so, yeah, I'm trying to just kind of piggyback.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and just to kind of, add to that, I like to look at it as almost like a steal away, in a sense. When you are starting a business and you have a full-time job, you use your business to kind of steal away from that job, or to use the business you found or founded to kind of just gradually pull yourself away from the 9 to 5. It's the same thing with the medication. In some emergency situations, when someone is coming in with severely hypertensive numbers, then you have to use something to kind of bring that down, and then eventually put them on something that Dr. Joy would do or Sister Ine would do, to now over time they would never need the high blood pressure medication anymore. So it's just about finding a way to kind of pull away from whatever it is that they're dealing with at that time.
Yeah. Yes.
In China, in the hospitals, they actually use acupuncture even for open heart and open brain surgery instead of anesthetics. And so this is knowledge that we have no clue how to do. And even when I say that, there's almost a bit of disbelief, over, probably many people that might be watching. But there are alternatives. Now, that doesn't mean that, you get into a car accident and, you need to put a limb on ice, and I'm not going to throw crystals and do Reiki over you right away. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of neither here nor there. However, I see Western medicine more as an emergent medicine in certain regards, but only within the ER. Anything and everything else is really about extending long life and longevity and in a healthy way.
Yeah, we can definitely build on this more in part 3, but we actually at that 30-minute mark, and I want to go ahead and do the final call plug. Yeah. This is a great conversation so far. I love this. So many different perspectives, so many different schools of thought here, and we're going to build on this some more. So let's go ahead and go into the final call newspaper.
Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call digital edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
This is Sister Ilyasa. We're at the National Training Convention, and you're watching the STEM Files.
All right, family. Now, this is a session that's usually done by our brother Jabril Engineer, so I'm going to try my best to live up to the way he does this, all right? So this is the Final Call newspaper, the latest edition. This is the latest issue, volume 43, number 44. In this particular Final Call newspaper is about our sister, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. My mother, when my mother was homeschooling, now she did a very good job in making sure that we knew everyone, any Black person that was serving, whether in Congress, local council, state, city, whatever they were, she made sure that we understood who our Black leaders were. And Sheila Jackson Lee, we're remembering our sister as a public servant and friend. She was very profound. I think she represented the state of Texas, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Yes. I hope I'm right on that. But yeah, so she actually made her transition back to Allah, and she was a friend of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. She was a friend of a lot of his students in the ministry, and we want to say may Allah continue to be pleased with her, and may Allah comfort comfort her family during this time. If you'd like to explore the Final Call newspaper, visit finalcalldigital.com. If you like a physical copy. If you're in Richmond, Virginia, see me. If you're in Greensboro, North Carolina, see Dr. Joy. If you're in Philadelphia, or if you're in Atlanta, Georgia, definitely tap in with Jabril and make sure you get a physical copy of the Final Call newspaper. This is the flagship product of the Nation of Islam. This is news you can use, family. All right, so let's get back into this now. Jabril, put in the comments. I hope I didn't butcher that. All right,
It was Houston. It was Houston.
Right, it's Houston. Okay, I was cool. You don't want to get nobody's state wrong.
Praise be to
All right, absolutely. Yes, shout out to Sister Ilyasa. She is a biology teacher in Houston, Texas as well. Go figure. And she is a phenomenal scientist, phenomenal teacher. And she blessed the STEM Files platform a couple of months ago. And we look forward to having her back on. But let's get back into it. So we're talking about the business, psychiatry and Black business, right? So let's get to some business stuff, right? So earlier on, we talked about having credentials. We talked about being able to be qualified to do what you do or to offer what you offer. So from a business perspective, right? I'm a nurse practitioner, and I decided I wanted to open up a business, a clinic, or whatever it is that I wanted to do. What is the very first step that needs to be done to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row? You know, you're practicing in the city that you want to practice in. What are some of the first things you need to do to get this business up and running?
Oh, she's on mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry. I would say one of the first things to do when starting any business is to submerge yourself within that field first. Even if that means working for someone else for a while, learning the ins and outs of the trade. And once you have learned the ins and outs of the trade, then you can start to, you kind of have a vision, or you have a better picture of what's needed. You can create your policies and procedures based off of what you see your employer has put in place. You know, you can also, during the time of you being employed, create a nest egg of savings in order for you to fund your venture. And once you feel as though you have witnessed enough to create your policies and procedures to actually to fund a space, I mean, you know, we're now moving in. We're in a space of virtual. So you don't necessarily have to have a space anymore. That's, you know, that's a blessing, and it has been a win for a lot of entrepreneurs. But once you learn the ins and outs, all of the ins and outs, then I would say you can create a business plan. It's kind of cliche, but you know, the business plan forces you to look around your area to see, you know, who else is doing something similar, which will then prompt you to figure out, well, how can I add a different edge to it? It'll also give you an idea of, you know, how much resources, how much income you'll be able to bring in by looking at, you know, what the current market is. The main thing for me was the mission statement. When you get very, very clear about your mission, it's almost like your mission statement is spiritual, because every mission statement that I have sat down to curate, I've seen it beautifully manifest. So I would say that the mission statement is definitely like the head of your business plan, and then everything else is, you know, like the bells and whistles, you know. But I would also say a mentor, having someone, knowing someone that is already doing what you're doing and making connections with them, asking them if, you know, you can shadow them, asking them if maybe you can offer, you know, free services, you know, under their care, whatever you can do to get that mentoring. And usually, once you have a mentor and you've also been in the field yourself, you're good to go. You know, you just pray on it and implement.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Were there any challenges that you faced when it came to finding a building, finding, you know, funding, anything like that? What was some of the what was your personal journey like in making sure that your clinic was successful?
My personal journey was interesting, a little bit tedious. I was working a 9-to-5, doing what I envisioned doing for myself. and I knew that I wanted to have a building, and I knew that I was going to need additional resources in order to acquire that building. So I worked a 9 to 5, and then I got myself a 7 to 7 a.m. So I was getting off from my 9 to 5 p.m. I was taking a nap in my car, and then I was waking up in that hospital parking lot at 7 p.m. to go clock in until 7 a.m. I did that for a good 6 or 7 months until I acquired enough resources to put the down payment on my building, to hire some contractors to do some of the renovations on my building, to purchase the medical equipment for my building. I did it that way because I didn't want to have to do the loan. I mean, you don't have to do it that way. I did it that way because I didn't want to acquire a lot of debt. Doing this, I didn't feel like I had to acquire a lot of debt. So that was the way I did it. Kind of taking naps in cars and working. What I don't know how many hours a day that was, but that it worked for me, and it allowed me to appreciate my business and what I achieved that much more. I think
them naps in cars before the overnight shifts is real. I'm telling you. Like, oh,
yes,
the memories I just had. I used to travel a lot. I used to travel over the state of Virginia, just going back and forth from nursing home, hospital. Wow. And I think the furthest I've ever went out was about maybe South Carolina. Wow. From here in Richmond to South Carolina. And saying that the sleeping in the car, sometimes you fall asleep in the car and you wake up, you're starting about 10, 15 minutes past the shift. Sleeping past your alarm on your phone and whatnot. Yeah, it's real. Dr. Joy?
I absolutely couldn't agree more about just having that vision. Patience and prayer makes a heck of a difference, And then all the hard work that you do, I loudly emphasize this, just like you were saying, Sister Ine, appreciation of your business, like after you've done the work and seen the fruits of your labor. It's such an amazing, like, I get taken back every day, like this is this is what I am blessed to do. What I wanted to ask you too was, what does integration in Black business look like for you? You're doing hydrotherapy. I would love to hear more about that. In relation to the psychiatry part, like, do they play into one another? Are you doing one to kind of mitigate the side effects of another? Like, how does that work?
It came to me separately. Now that I'm in mental health and I'm studying the gut-brain connection, mm-hmm. I'm like, I should do more with this. But it came to me separate. I acquired a 6,000 square foot building. I purchased a 6,000 square foot building, and I was just like, I need more things besides just this one exam room. I need some other services I'd like to offer. And colon hydrotherapy, I made a prayer on it, and colon hydrotherapy came to me, and I decided to go become a certified colon hydrotherapist and offer it. At the time, I did not. The only connection I made was, well, you're doing primary care, and the colon is the source of a lot of sicknesses.
Yes,
but I wasn't very intentional about creating a connection between the two. It was just a matter of me trying to fill the space. Mm-hmm. And now I'm making a connection now that I'm in the mental health world, and I'm really, really starting to see the effects of different colon conditions on the mind. And so I am working on creating some packages and trying to bring those together. But for right now, well, I guess the initial vision, they were just two totally separate things. One thing that I appreciated about the colon hydrotherapy was, that it was a cash pay service. It was something that I could create my own rate on. And I did my best to, make it, as affordable to the community as possible. And I felt like that was something that, our community wasn't readily accessible to our community yet.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them, you know, in the city, but to have, you know, someone, I guess, of an African-American sister, I guess, you know, of my age offering it, you know, as my peers, you know, having my peers say, this is what you're doing, and being able to bring my peers in, you know, that was very rewarding and refreshing for me. So that was another incentive, was just, I didn't want to, I think we talked about that previously, didn't want to totally rely on the, I guess, the certifications and the insurances and all of that. I wanted to have something separate that I could build upon, that was separate from pharma and the insurances and all of that, you know, medical jargon.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you touched on the insurance part, because you know, I want to explore while we're live. Matter of fact, are you in the clinic right now?
Yeah.
Can we get like a little tour? Are you in a position to do that?
Yeah, we can. Let's
Okay,
see.
bet.
All right, let's take this off here.
First office tour on the STEM files, by the way.
Yes. Let me take 1 second. I have my okay. So should I keep the camera? Can I turn this camera around or no?
Is that your iPad?
No, this is my phone.
Yeah, you can turn it around, I think.
Okay. So this would have been the exam room. So there was just one exam bed. And now that I'm in mental health, I don't know, it's weird. Okay. Now that I'm in mental health, I don't use the exam bed anymore, but this is my desk, and this is where I used to check blood pressures. It's kind of messy in here now, but this is no longer an exam room, but this is where I'm hanging out.
Okay.
And let's see, this is the colonic room. Some plans. So this is the colonic bed here. I don't know if y'all can see. Yeah. This is
And what's that for exactly?
colonic. The colonic bed is for cleansing the colon, the lower colon. So it's essentially like a 45-minute enema infusion. So you would lay up here, back of your head would rest on that pillow, and we would release some. We would put a tube. The customer puts the tube up into the rectum, and let me see.
Bear with us, family. Got some slight technical issues.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all can see it. The tube, it's not all lit up now. It's not on right now. But yeah, this is the colonic room. And then we have, let's see. This is the lobby, just an open space. And this is the sitting area. You come and have a seat and wait on me. And this was where I would, we have our gong, and I used to have my sound baths here. And this. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, just pretty much, you know, open space, and, you know, 2 rooms that we use for services. The one, you know, the exam room, I will sometimes do psychiatric evaluations in there. And then we have the colon hydrotherapy.
That's a beautiful space.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great in there.
All praises to the Most High.
Yes, ma'am.
Really.
Awesome. All right, so this is not a final question, but this question is along the lines of documentation, right? So what are some of the things that you would want a patient that you're working with to look over, or to cooperate with, in a sense, maybe sign it or what have you, so that they can be protected while they're under your care?
Okay, good question. So we have an informed consent. And within the informed consent, that pretty much just, you know, it lets them know that, you know, what services we will be offering. It's pretty much all of, I've incorporated a lot of my rules and regulations within there, and then some of the expectations from them as a customer. Some of their rights are in there. Then we have the HIPAA. The HIPAA is just Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act is what HIPAA stands for. And that's just pretty much reminding patients that all of their information is confidential. And in order for me to release, we also have a release form they have to complete. And the release form is saying that if you ever want any of your documentation sent to anyone outside of this practice, you have to complete this form. Otherwise, we will, it doesn't matter who's coming to ask for the information, we will not send any of your notes or any of your medical information to anyone without your permission. Because I'm in psychiatry, I also have what we call a benzodiazepine and a stimulant agreement form. And this form is pretty much letting you know that there are certain guidelines and rules that we practice here as far as benzodiazepines and stimulants, because they are so prone to addiction and dependency within the body. We have to manage them in a certain way. So my agreement pretty much lets people know that, first of all, I don't prescribe Xanax here. I feel like Xanax oftentimes is just a dead end street. It just ends up, we end up just having to go up on the dose, and then we have to titrate down. It's just a miserable process for everyone. Long-term diazepine usage will not be something that's supported at this practice. I only prescribe benzodiazepines on a very acute basis because of the risk of dependency. And as far as stimulants are concerned, I will only increase stimulant dosages twice before it is mandated that you get a psychotherapist to assist you with ADHD management as an adjunct to your medication. So that's those are all part of my intake documents, as well as just basic demographic information and insurance information.
Absolutely. And the reason I asked that is because for those who don't know, on two weeks ago when we had you on the first time, I mentioned that you're working with us in the Ministry of Health and Human Services locally here in Richmond. And you've been helping us a lot with our paperwork with the telehealth services that we're about to start here in the city. So I always want to just kind of bring home that we have to have the documentation in place, because this protects the patient. It keeps, also, not only does it protect the patient, it protects the practitioner. It keeps them safe, so that if anything was to happen, no one's held liable. We're not being, taken to court for something, that may have been probably was out of our control. So it's always about protecting both parties and making sure everybody's straight.
Yeah, especially for the telephone consents. The virtual consent forms are separate from the regular informed consent forms. And what the tele visits informed consent form states is that there are some things that have the possibility of being missed with you being virtual, and you're aware that this can be a possibility. So just making the patient aware, so that if things do come up, it's just like, well, we told you that it's not as good as coming in. We try to make it as good as coming in, but you are informed per the informed consent form.
Absolutely. And Jabril had a question, as we're going to backtrack a little bit. Jabril had a question about colon hydrotherapy. He said, what are some of the more immediate benefits that your patients report after they receive colon hydrotherapy colonic treatments?
Well, for one, increased energy, because a lot of the times our colons are backed up with different fecal matter, and all of those toxins are slowly seeping into the bloodstream, making us feel bogged down, tired, stressed. So when we're flushing, when we get some of that fecal matter moving up out of the colon, we feel lighter. And the blood is able to, while you're going through the colon hydrotherapy process, it's also almost like it's a blood purification process as well. So a lot of the times people say, report feeling just lighter and just better, more energized. Obviously, if you're coming in with constipation and you're able to, get a release, you're very happy, you feel very satisfied with that component. And then some of the benefits are just maybe subtle and over time. If you continue to get colon hydrotherapy, I've had some patients say, so I don't call my colon hydrotherapy customers patients, I call them clients. Some clients have reported less joint pain. and that once again, some of those toxins, seeping into the bloodstream, they cause inflammation in the joints. And so when we start cleaning that colon out, those joints become, that synovial fluid is purified, and they're feeling better. The inflammatory processes have reduced.
Okay.
Brother Tariq, are you going to sign up?
Well, Dr. Joy, I'm already long overdue for acupuncture, so
Yeah,
absolutely.
come on down.
I gotta slide through both of y'all's clinics. Matter of fact, this is a question from my mother. She wanted to know where is Sister Saka located. For those locally, where can the people tap in?
I am located on Richmond, Virginia, South Side, in they used to be Blackwell, now they call it the Manchester neighborhood.
Right.
But I'm at 1518 Perry Street, and it's off of Cowarden, not far from Hull Street, and not far from Croker Spot and all of those places, if you're familiar with Richmond, Virginia.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a your clinic is very strategically placed, because that's still considered Black Richmond in a sense.
Also.
So absolutely. It's the neighborhood's coming up with for more reasons outside of Black people's interests, but it's definitely coming up, but it's still considered in the heart of Black Richmond, and one of the hearts of Black Richmond at least. And I haven't been there yet. I definitely plan on coming through sometime this month. And you said the address is 1518
Perry Street, P as in Paul, ERRY, Perry Street.
Okay, cool. That's less than 6 minutes from me, so I'll definitely be up there.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we have some comments as well from Michelle. She said Empathy Wellness Center is a community-friendly, safe space.
That's my mommy.
Oh, okay. Shout out to Mom. Sister Donna from Memphis, Tennessee. She said she recently experienced a sound bath. It was amazing. She said, "What a beautiful space you have, so cozy." She also said she worked on the office end of work. She worked on the office end of working for an insurance company, and they are in the business of denying and dictating. So insurance. I'm telling you, insurance makes or breaks somebody's care. It's crazy.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely. And then we have, of course, Jabril. He said, "Pharma comes to suppress." That's a major key.
Yes.
All right. What else we have here? Certified said this is very thorough. Shout out to Certified, whoever you are, brothers. All right. Then of course Tony, brother Tony out of Miami, Florida. There's no instant health like instant coffee. All right. So this is a question from Kay Mondio. She said, "Assalamu alaikum. What kinds of challenges have you had while educating patients? Have you overcome?"
Good question.
Sorry, I'm reading these sentences all wrong. Go ahead.
Well, I think that one of the main challenges is feeling so passionate about holistic health and wanting to share that vision and that walk of life with my patients when they weren't quite ready. And so sometimes I feel like I may be oversharing or even getting on people's nerves when I'm, offering these different holistic, modalities, and they're kind of looking with their heads up in their eyes up in their heads, like, okay, So that's just one, just kind of feeling like, I'm annoying people with, the wisdom that I know would be, beneficial to them. Another challenge with educating patients would be, let me see. It's not, people come in, they want to learn. I don't really have a lot of challenges outside of, not feeling received by some. But other than that, people want to learn. People are really thirsty for knowledge. Anything, most people, they come in and anything you tell them as far as, with surrounding holistic health, most people are very receptive. So I haven't really had too many challenges. I love educating though. So I can meet you wherever you are. I can create a dialogue so I don't really have too many challenging stories with that. You know, I can meet people wherever they are and create very meaningful, powerful, informative sessions. So yeah, I haven't had too many challenges per se.
Gotcha. And I want to make a quick correction. Sister Dr. Joy was actually the first
Doesn't matter.
tour that we had. She actually, when we interviewed her back, was it last August,
spring.
I think?
Last
About a
spring.
year ago.
Oh, no, yeah. Last July.
Yes. Oh my God, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Last August. No, it was actually last June. Last
Mhm.
June. Sister Dr. Joy was on the platform and she gave us a tour of her mobile clinic.
Bus, yeah.
Yeah, the bus. It was dope. But yeah, we gotta do like a 3-way episode, having all the black sister,
Yeah.
like sister health practitioners on. Yeah,
Love
y'all
it.
are dope. We need that. We need same time effort. We need that. All right, so at this time we want to do something a little bit different. We have something called the TFSF Weekly Science Highlight, and Sister Dr. Joy put something in the STEM Files chat.
I gotta pull this up. Hold on a minute.
I got you though. I got you.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
This was awesome. Okay, like as you can see, a middle schooler won an award for her science project, which found that on average, 70% of the ice that comes from fast food restaurants is dirtier than toilet water, which was like, ugh. So it really gives you pause when you're going out to even, you know, when I think fast food, you know, I even think at the, you know, sit down restaurants. And the reason being, I read this very small blip. You know, she tested, you know, different cups of, you know, various sodas or beverages. And then she flushed the toilet and took a sample of the toilet bowl water. And what she found was that the toilet bowl water was cleaner. And that's because you know, we do or should often clean, you know, the toilet with, you know, antiseptics and things of this nature, Clorox, whatnot. But very rarely do any restaurateurs clean like the nozzles and things from the beverage chutes, whatever. And so that is where all of the bacteria and E. coli specifically, I believe she said, was there was buildup on them. And so that just gave me great pause. Well, it also in traditional Chinese medicine, they don't necessarily promote having ice with any of your beverages because that impedes the spleen and stomach qi. You want the spleen and the stomach to remain warm. So really warm beverages or room temperature beverages are much better for you health-wise. But yeah, this I don't want.
Yeah, I don't. This makes me look at any frozen treat different.
It's not even frozen, brother. It's like if I got iced tea or if I got a Sprite, you know, or whatever, you know, lemonade, the pink lemonade. I love the pink lemonade. Not anymore.
Don't roll like that. Matter of fact, Sister Dr. Joy, and this question for both of y'all really,
Sure.
In response to this, how in Chinese medicine and as well as what you do, Sister Ine, in your practice, with something like this, if somebody was contaminated with E. coli or somebody was poisoned with E. coli and their system needed to be rid of these contaminants, what were some of the things that you both would do in your individual practices to help heal this individual?
You want to go first? You want me to
No,
go first?
damn, I want you to go first, please. You're the guest.
So this happened recently, actually. So I always recommend we go from the mouth down, and then we can meet it with the colonic. So from the mouth down, I would recommend a good herbal laxative. I'm not a huge fan of the pharmaceutical laxatives. But you know, just something that will push something that will push through the colon pretty well. There's a lot of different herbs that can do that, and then you have the I think it's worm. Let me see. Yes, for parasites, right? So yeah, we'll do that, and then also do the colonic to flush anything that may be blocking the escape of this stuff. So sometimes we can't expel what's happening in the colon because of little hardened blockages. So the colonic will come and lubricate that stuff and get that stuff going. So, the colon is in 3 sections. You have the ascending, transverse, and then descending. So typically when you come to colonic for your first session, you're only getting things out of that descending colon. And so if you have any, that's typically where constipation kind of hangs out at for the most, well, I'm not going to say for the most part because it can happen all through. But during your colonic session, your first colonic session, this is why I offer a series of 3, because a series of 3 will, the idea is that the first session will cleanse any blockages in that descending colon, get things flowing so that over the next few days, the transverse colon that goes across can now empty into the descending colon, and anything in the ascending colon can now travel to the transverse colon. And so that now that you're at your second session, you're now cleaning out the contents of the old contents of the transverse colon. And by the time you come back within maybe a week or 2, you are getting all of the contents that have traveled from the ascending to the transverse. It has traveled to the descending, and that's how we get a full colon cleanse. But someone that comes in with the acutely, they suspect that they may have some food poisoning or something like that, we start with I would start with a herbal laxative. I would rule out any parasites by doing a parasite cleanse, and then we would do the colonic to flush out, anything that may be blocking it so things can flow out freely. Because a lot of the times we're taking laxatives, and the laxatives are only liquefying things and seeping around blockages, which is why the colonic is so beneficial, because the colonic kind of lubricates those blockages, especially in a descending colon, allows them to be dislodged, and so that all of that other fecal matter can travel through. But just taking a laxative sometimes won't do it when we're trying to totally cleanse the colon.
Yes, ma'am. Very similarly, in traditional Chinese medicine, you're looking at obviously the large intestine, but you're also looking at the yin pair, which is the lung. So oftentimes you'll see a lot of upper respiratory tract infections when someone is diagnosed with an infection of E. coli. And so what we want to do is understand the 5 basic elemental systems in Chinese medicine. And so earth actually is where the lung and the large intestine, the metal element, is derived from. And so with every patient, if all 3 of us had E. coli, everybody's symptoms and signs would be completely different. Typically, we might have like one common thing, but Brother Tariq, I might really hone in on, looking at the lung and kind of expelling a lot of the pathogen from the lung, because it could affect your lungs more than, say, Sister Ine, the large intestine, and ultimately metal feeds into that water element, so perhaps the kidneys or even the bladder system. And so we also have to think that the lungs and the large intestine, just by almost like a common law, both have very common mucosal immune systems. And so similarly with herbs, I might prescribe something something slightly toxic in order to eliminate the actual E. coli infection. However, with Chinese medicine, we never give just one herb. It's always an herbal formula. And so there might be 8 to 10 other herbs that are also bolstering this herb to extract, while also nourishing any element that's been impeded. So I want to help strengthen the spleen and the stomach in order to help eliminate and strengthen that, vital immune system coming from the spleen, whether in Western or Eastern medicine, and help expel that through the large intestines, and then, really help to revitalize also that viscera. I think you're on mute, brother.
Thank you. This is pretty cool, because we actually want to do more STEM Files content where we focus around how-tos and some of the different things that our guests do in their careers when it comes to certain, techniques, procedures, or what have you. So both of you, including myself and of course Jabril, will be doing a little more, how to, maybe even some demonstrations sometimes when we do the STEM Files. It won't always be interviews. So family, if you're watching, we won't always do live videos. Sometimes we'll be doing demonstrations and techniques so that you can see for yourself what all it entails. So this question is from my mother. Sister Saka, you are located in a mixed income area. Can you briefly go over the health insurance you accept? And if you don't mind, if you don't accept health insurance, do you accept sliding pay scale payments?
Good question.
I do. I accept all insurances. I accept Medicaid. I accept Medicare. I accept all the commercial insurances. Right now, we don't have a sliding scale, but honestly, if you come in and you are in need of services, we can talk and make the services affordable for you.
Awesome.
And that's an excellent question too, because we, Black people, and that, as she said in the comment, mixed income. We come from all walks of life, and healthcare is not something that is only exclusive to somebody who can afford it. It's a basic human right.
That's right.
So we have to, be able to accept as much as we can so that we can serve as many people as possible. So thank you so much. We appreciate you and your service here in the city of Richmond. Definitely got to make my way to Greensboro as well.
I'm coming up to y'all.
Hey, that works too. Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do a sound bath. Let's do a sound bath.
I love those, please. Love.
Yes, I would love that.
Awesome. So we have some comments from Jabril. He said warmer beverages also facilitates greater hydration. Absolutely. Colder to drink, just because your drink is cold does not mean you're getting hydrated. In fact, it's only affecting your temperature, for real. All right, and now we have a question from your mom again. Would you take the wormwood after the colonic and over time?
Yes, for sure. Because that colonic is going to come through and wash out the fecal matter and anything that's still hanging out there. Having a colonic will help the colon to better absorb the anything else you put in it. So the fecal matter in the colon functions like a sponge, and so it absorbs a lot of the nutrition and all the good stuff you're trying to pour into the body to heal it. It's just soaking it all up. So with the less feces you have sitting in your colon, the better you are able to absorb nutrition and other herbal remedies such as the wormwood after the colon has been cleansed.
Yeah, some people just try to figure out, they're doing all this, that, and the third, but they can't seem to get the nutritional value from food. And they think that it's just as simple as, eating or breaking away from what I've been eating and then going into better nutrition. But it's also all about what's blocking the nutrition or what's blocking those nutrients from being absorbed by the cells and by the body. So that unblocking stuff, there's a quote, matter of fact, I can't remember verbatim, it was something along the lines of doctors don't really heal. God does the healing, doctors remove the interference. So whatever's blocking or whatever's causing something to interfere with how the body would normally respond to something, that doctor's job is to make sure, whatever practitioner you're with, is to make sure that they unblock that or remove that interference so that it can actually do its part and actually heal you.
Yeah.
Praise be to Allah. Sister Donna said, sounds like a Ministry of Health and Science conference to me.
Right.
Let's do it.
Yes. Absolutely. All right, Dr. Joy, do you have anything?
Actually, a little bit about wormwood. In Chinese medicine, it's called Qinghao, and that's actually where Sister Ine and I differ a little bit, just therapeutically. We would never prescribe wormwood long term. It will kill your spleen, and therefore, when you're already eliminating and it's already a little bit more, more like a loose stool, taking wormwood over a long period of time, especially after a colonic, would wreck it in terms of Chinese medicine.
No, I would never prescribe wormwood for chronically at all. No. Only after the colonic, and maybe I think it's only you use it once or twice, kind of consecutively, and then after that, maybe once every new moon or so, or every other new moon or so, if needed. But no, you're right. It's a very strong medicine. I would never prescribe that for a long-term use. back. I guess you consecutively. I wouldn't prescribe it that way.
Gotcha. So we have one last question, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Can you speak to the importance of fasting and lack of food intake and its role in all of this?
Yeah, so fasting allows the body to rest. It allows the immune system to activate. Every time you eat food, the immune, especially if you're not eating the best of the best earth grown foods, the immune system goes into activation mode, trying to fight and protect and all of those different things. So when you're trying to heal the body, fasting is one of the best things that you can do, because you allow the immune system to go into, I guess, activate the way and work to its ultimate potential, because it's not having to fight off all of these random free radicals and chemicals and toxins that you're taking in 3 times a day by eating your breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks and your coffee with the sugar and
Talk about the coffee drinkers.
So yeah, the body gets a chance to rest.
Yes, ma'am. Just speaking of.
So that was, I think I answered everything. Fasting and lack of food intake is one of, yes. So that's what I would say. It's the immune system. The immune system is really the heart of all of this. You know, if the immune system is given, and that's another reason why the colonic is so important. The colon is one of the largest sites of the immune system. When there's discord in the colon, a lot of the times, like you mentioned, we will have inflammation in the lungs. We will have inflammation, in other places of the body, because the immune system, a large portion of the immune system lies in the colon. And so fasting allows that body to heal, ultimately, to reset.
Right.
Absolutely. Speaking of fasting, Nation of Islam, family, friends who want to participate, we are on our 3-day fast this weekend. It's a monthly fast. Fasting is prescribed according to the Holy Quran. And by 72 hours, actually what you're saying, yes, ma'am, the fasting leads to a near complete rejuvenation of the immune system. So family, if you want to join us and partake, your last meal is this evening. Your first meal is on Sunday.
Nice. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was wondering why I wasn't hungry right now.
You're used to it.
Right.
It's spiritual too, though.
Absolutely.
Fasting. Yeah, it's spiritual. And so when you also, it's good for the body, but when you also do it to, become, a lot of the times our foods, they block us from being our higher connection. So, without having all of those different nervous system stimulants in your body, you're able to focus more on the divine and the inner you, and you're reminded of source, and food becomes less important. So that fasting is is spiritual. It helps to incorporate the two.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. And then of course my mom. I got one more thing. My mother said, "Would Sister Saka return to the STEM files in the future?"
Of course, I would love to. Listen, I'm getting used to this. I think I expressed to Brother Tariq, I said, I'm a little bit nervous, but I just I could get used to this. I like it. It's cozy here. I could do this.
We can do residencies, like how you got on the podcast and they have the same person over and over again all the time. You can be that for us. Like we would love to have you on as much as possible to talk about a variety of things, and not just what you do, but maybe do it like nuclear reactions. And that's really an episode that's really a part of the STEM files, where we pull up a video or something that we react to. Jabril, Dr. Joy, and myself, and the guest would react to something that's closely related to what you do. So, for example, if we were talking about if somebody was going viral for colon hydrotherapy, we'd probably pull that up and sit down and react with you about it.
Yeah, I need to talk to him anyway.
Got you.
Yeah, I would love
All
that.
right, family. Well, that has been another edition of the STEM Files, where we serve as the voice of STEM talent and Black culture, where we highlight the best and brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Dr. Joy, do you have any final words before we go?
Thank you so much again for joining us. And I just second what Brother Tariq has said. Like, we definitely have to have you back on. I would love a sisters chat, like just pass the mic, Bro Tariq. I'll try to figure out.
We're gonna get you there. We're gonna get you to open up.
But really looking forward to it. Looking forward to meeting you in person, sis.
Yes, likewise, same. Thank you so much for having me. This is an honor, it really is.
Awesome, praise be to Allah. Well, as Jabril would say, this is your platform. So whenever you want to come on the STEM Files, this is your home. This is your opportunity to share with the world what it is that you're doing. It's an opportunity for you to ask us questions as well. Like if there's something you wanted to know from us, there's definitely an opportunity for that. But we always want to open the floor to our guests and let them know that this belongs to them. The STEM Files is about highlighting what you do and sharing with the world the value that you have and what you do in your particular career. So thank you again. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, family. This has been another edition of the STEM Files. We have more exciting content to come. Stay tuned for more updates. If you want to subscribe to our newsletter, if you're watching on Facebook, go to the description or the caption at the top. If you're watching on YouTube, go to the description at the bottom. Click that. First of all, if you're watching the video at all, like, comment, share.
Subscribe.
Absolutely. Subscribe. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, hosted by Tariq Cardiac, at Jabril_engineer, at The Chief Mechanic. Follow us at The STEM Files on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you see that logo, it's The STEM Files. If you don't see that logo, it's not us. Okay? All right, cool, family. And also, too, once again, to make sure that if you're in Richmond, Virginia, you would like to tap in with Sis and her services, please visit her at the following address: 1518 Perry Street, Richmond, Virginia. It's right here, right in Richmond, Virginia, South Side, Black community. Once again, 1518 Perry Street, Richmond, Virginia.
They can check out the website too. It's it's Empathy Wellness Center. So empathywellnesscenter.org. Oh, there it goes. No, but that's the email. The
That's
website.
the email, but yeah, the website right behind that. Yeah. Yes, man. Okay. Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. Well, family, once again, this has been another edition of the STEM Files. So I'm gonna let y'all. We're gonna pause a little bit so you make sure you get that. Info at empathywellnesscenter.org. Info at empathywellnesscenter.org. And once again, family, this has been another edition of the STEM Files, where we serve as the voice of STEM talent and Black culture. Peace.
You believe in these false prophets, I say I bet he lying. No football, New York City Giants. Girl dad, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. When we teaching our babies, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. When we teaching our women, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. When we teach men, we teach them.
Hi, it's Ine Saka, Integrated Psychiatric Nurse Practitioner, coming to you on the STEM Files for a part 2, where we will be discussing the ins and outs of starting your own healthcare-based business. Stay tuned.